In Jesus' time, in the lifetime of Jesus Christ, I want you to understand something. The theory of reincarnation was a commonly held belief. It was a very common belief. And Jesus Christ slammed down hard against mainline religious belief. He came down against everything religious. He came down against everything doctrinal. He came down against everything of the church. He came down against the Bible. He came down against the law. But he never came down against the theory of reincarnation. Yet it was a very predominant belief in that time when he lived. Now let's go. Let's take a look at some scriptures. And let's see what we look at. Okay? Now, the point is, if you're coming here looking for proof, okay, then you're not being fair. On the other hand, if you want to be, as a judge and a jury, you're looking for evidence upon which to make a decision, then you be the jury. I'll give you the evidence. You make the decision based on what you hear. You can vote. It's up to you. Okay? Let's take a look. Page 10, New Testament, Matthew. Matthew chapter 11. Page 10, New Testament, Matthew. Matthew chapter 11. Okay? Go to verse 14. Go to verse 13. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. This is John the Baptist. Now this is the next one that I want you to see. If you will receive it. In other words, if you are not going to work at this with a prejudiced mind because people have told you not to believe it, if you will receive it, this is Elias, which means Elijah, which was for to come. In other words, there was a prophecy that Elijah would be reincarnated and make a second appearance. And Jesus Christ says, that man standing over there is the Elijah who was to come. Elijah has reincarnated into the body of that man that you call John the Baptist. And Jesus Christ says, if you can receive it, if you are mystically, spiritually stable enough to understand this. But if you are one who is plugged into the Methodists, the Baptists, the Catholics, and all of these other people, you can't deal with it. You can't receive it. Because they've told you don't believe in reincarnation. So Jesus has to address them and say, only those people who can receive it, okay, only those people who can receive that will understand and will be able to take it. Okay. Now what about this? So what you can say, no, what you can say to me, wait a minute, ho, 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 ho. What he was talking about was saying, you got this screwed up. What he was talking about, he was saying that John the Baptist fulfilled, the spirit of Elijah. He wasn't saying that's really Elijah. He was saying that, John the Baptist is a guy that fulfills the prophecy of a guy that like Elijah was going to come, So, in other words, if you look at John the Baptist, you can say there's the spirit of Elijah. That's all he meant by that. Okay. So that's a good counter to that particular idea of Elijah being John the Baptist. Page 18 in the New Testament. Okay. Matthew 17. Page 18 in the New Testament, Matthew 17. Now go to verse 11. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias or Elijah truly, I want you to look at that word, truly shall first come and restore all things. Not just symbolically. He said he will truly come. But I say unto you, verse 12, that Elijah is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spoke to them of John the Baptist. Truly he shall come. And what is he saying? The Son of Man shall come in the same way. What did he say? He said that Elijah came reincarnated as John the Baptist, and nobody recognized that John the Baptist had actually that which is the spirit and personality of Elijah inside. And he says it would happen in the same way to the Christ. Why? Because the Christ is in you, you are one with the Christ, and none of them out there recognize it. None of them out there recognize it. And they say you're nothing but a worthless sinner because they don't know that you're the Christ. Because you and Christ are one. And Christ reincarnates in human beings. He was trying to say he would reincarnate in human beings in the same way that John the Baptist was reincarnated by Elijah. All right? Now you say, well, now wait a minute. Okay, That's two. You know, that kind of balances the other one. And it does look like maybe there was a question of reincarnation here. Maybe there was some reincarnation going on here, because Jesus said he would truly come. Did anybody else besides Jesus feel that there was something about John the Baptist that portrayed another life or another entity that had come into him? Let's take a look. Let's go back to page 14, to Matthew 14 in your New Testament. Matthew 14. And I want to show you a very strange statement made by King Herod. Okay, King Herod made a very strange statement. If you're not able to, are you guys able to see all right, or do you need some light there? Are you sure? Because we can turn those center lights on if it'd make it easy for you to read. Okay. Matthew, because everybody see, can you read all right where you're at there? Okay. Matthew 14, verse 2. Now this is Herod, the patriarch, heard of the fame of Jesus, and said unto his servants. Now watch this one very carefully. This is John the Baptist. Watch this next line. He is risen from the dead. You see that? Did you ever see a story anywhere in the Bible that said John the Baptist was risen from the dead? Where did he get that from? So he knew that there was something about John the Baptist being fulfilled in reincarnation of someone who had physically died and reincarnated in his body and has actually risen from the dead and been in there, taken place into the ego and body of John the Baptist. It sounds like reincarnation to me. It does sound like reincarnation. But you know, that's maybe one that you could consider as the jury, the possibility of reincarnation being alluded to in the Bible. It doesn't prove it, but I think that it is there that there's a possibility. Jesus said he would truly come. Jesus said John the Baptist was the reincarnation. And King Herod said, this is the man that was risen from the dead. Let's go. I want to show you something else very interesting. Now watch this one as we go to page 17 in your New Testament. Matthew 16 for the rest of you. Just a couple of pages up from where you were. Matthew 16. Now watch this one, and this is really interesting. Matthew chapter 16, let's go to verse 13. Okay, Jesus comes into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, and he asks his disciples, and this is the question, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? Now watch their response. They said, some say you're John the Baptist. Some say you're Elijah. Others say you're Jeremiah or one of the prophets. Isn't it interesting to you that the people were commenting in this community that Jesus Christ was the reincarnation of somebody who had previously died? Do you see what happened here? In other words, the people believed that Jesus Christ had reincarnated and he was actually one of these great prophets or one of the others who had died previously. So the question then was risen, and Peter shot back with the fact that people believed that Jesus Christ was the reincarnation of somebody else. He was the reincarnation of John the Baptist, or he was the reincarnation of Elijah, or he was the reincarnation of Jeremiah, or he was the reincarnation of one of the prophets. And interesting, Jesus doesn't go into a tirade. What would you do? Especially in your born-again walk. What are you talking about? I'm a reincarnation. You don't believe in that screwy stuff, do you? He never said that. He said, well, wait a minute. You know, that's what they say. But then he said, who do you say? Okay, they say I'm these people who would die. But who do you say I'm? He didn't get all freaked out about that. He didn't say you should never talk that way. Don't read those books. Don't go down to that place. Where you been hanging out in that Vito cellar, listening to all that stuff? No, he never said anything of the kind. He said, who do you say I am? He didn't make any issue of it, other than to say that he had risen above that. He had risen above that which was flesh and blood, and that he now was an incarnation of the Christ, exactly what he wants you to be. But that's an interesting thing. And then you say, well, you know, he's the Christ. I mean, I can't be that. I mean, here I am in Forked River. How could I possibly fit into that kind of a mold? And I'm going to be an incarnation of the Christ. He's going to reincarnate in me. And look at page 176 in your New Testament. Go to the book of Galatians, if you would, all right? The book of Galatians, Galatians chapter 2. So we're showing you some evidences here. First of all, that Jesus Christ said John the Baptist was the reincarnation of Elijah. Second of all, that King Herod believed that somebody had reincarnated in the body of John the Baptist, which had raised him from the dead. And now we see a conversation between Jesus and his disciples, in which the disciples say that the general consensus in the town was that Jesus was a reincarnation of one of the other prophets. And here in Galatians 2:20, then, it talks about the Christ consciousness. Verse 20, I am crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live. Now watch this next one. Yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And so Paul then is saying that, yes, he is alive, but physically he's alive. But that which is his capacity of mind is the Christ mind. So Paul is saying it's not him that's alive, it's the Christ that's in him. And this is what we're driving at. This is what we're here for. This is what we're here to meditate for. Not to float above the chair somewhere, but to take that which is the mind of Christ and have the mind of Christ alive in us. There's a very interesting thing that happens here. Let's go to page, gee, I don't have it in the page, I don't know, John chapter 9. Maybe somebody can call out what page that's on in the Bible. The book of John, chapter 9. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, chapter 9. If somebody could just say what page that's on. 98. All right, 98. Now, here's a very interesting thing. Chapter 9, John chapter 9, verse 1. As Jesus passed by, he saw a man who was blind from birth. Did you hear that? Now watch out for that one. It's what this man, when he was born from his mother's womb, was born blind. That's what it means. He was blind from birth. See? Now watch the question. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? How could a sin have occurred that this man committed that caused him to be born blind, unless we're talking about what? Reincarnation and karma. There are two things covered right there. Karma, he was born blind, and reincarnation, his sin in a previous life caused this blindness to occur at his birth. Do you see that? Now, wait a minute, I'm not talking about, like we said, New Age bookstore people. These are the disciples of Jesus Christ. These are the guys that Jesus Christ is teaching, and they are asking questions. Hey, well then, you know, you're the teacher here now. Tell us, this guy's born blind. Did he sin to cause this to be born? Could Jesus have been teaching them about karma? Oh my God, like Buddha? Huh? Where did he get that? Where did they get that from? Do you see it in the Bible? Do you understand the question being asked there? Do you see it in black and white or whatever it is in front of you in this holy word? Do you see it? And do you see specifically that it says the man was born blind, and that the disciples, those who disciplined themselves to the teachings of Jesus Christ, were asking Jesus, did this man commit a sin before he was reborn that caused him to be blind? In other words, is this a karmic situation that occurred here? Do you see that? I wish somebody would just say no or yes. Do you see it? Yes. Okay. Because you stare sometimes. That's what I usually do. And when I stare, I don't know what you're talking about. So when they stare back at me, then I say, oh, man. You know why I wanted you to see it? It's so important that you see it. It's in the doggone Bible. So when these people come and shove a Bible under your face and say, don't believe that reincarnation stuff, stick it back to them. Say, here, read it, dumbcuff. These guys were the disciples of Jesus Christ. Stupid. These are the disciples of Jesus Christ. He was teaching them this stuff. Where did they learn this stuff from? All right? Yes. Okay. But that's a very good thing, because you have two things that happen right smack there. You talk about New Age teaching. Right in that little John 9 and 1 and 2, you have reincarnation and you have karma. Bang, right there. Double-edged sword. Hold on a minute. We have a question from Father Don. Want to come up here and ask the question?
If you take it a little further on verse 4. If you look at, I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. interpret that as day, as while you're alive. Then it says, the night cometh when no man can work. If you follow up right to the previous verse.
I didn't get there yet.
Oh, you're going to follow up with that? Am I ahead of you?
Well, I don't have to do it now because you people are so
Am I ahead of
skilled in this stuff that you are forming your own church, aren't you? You and Mary Jengard. I knew what's going on. You ain't kidding me at all. You're right. No, you're right.
There's one requirement of Mary. Never mind. Goodbye.
I don't know what that is. Okay. Okay. Jesus turns around to answer here. Does he say, wait a minute, how can a man sin before he's born? He doesn't ask that question. He doesn't say it's impossible. He doesn't say it's nonsense. What does he say? Jesus says, neither has this man sinned. Now just think for a minute. He's answering the question. And he's saying, no, this is not a karmic situation in this case. It was not something this man did in a previous lifetime that caused him. He didn't say there is no such thing as reincarnation. He didn't say there's no such thing as karma. He simply answered it. And in this situation, he says, no, that wasn't it. He says, neither this man sinned. Will you please just study it for a second and see what Jesus is answering? Jesus is not saying it's impossible to sin before you're born. He's saying, no, it wasn't this man's sin that caused it. He's answering it agreeably that, yes, it could have been, but it wasn't this particular case. This man did not sin. Just the fact that he answered that question and said, no, it wasn't this man's sin, he was agreeing that it was possible to sin before you're born. Uh-huh? Yes. Well, I want to roll. I got 2 yeses.